So we've taken our averages, we've looked at, the uncertainty of our measurements using standard deviation, and it looks, like I said, that we all measured about the same value because our standard deviation is low. It's only about 5% of the average. And now we want to compare these averages to one another, right? So at this point, we've just been kind of looking at uh, all of the data and summarizing it using average and standard deviation for each die. But now we want to actually compare the dies, and that's where t-test comes in. So for the t-test, we're actually going to be comparing the averages between these two dies. So here we go. Oops. We're going to click in the t-test box and select function again. And this time we want to select the t-test function. All right, so double click that and it's, whoa, giving us a lot of boxes, right? And so in this, we want to compare two sets of numbers, right? So we want to compare the malachite green dye to the potassium permanganate dye, okay? And you can see that some of these values are higher than the average, some are lower than the average, and that means that there are two tails, that there's a tail above and a tail below. So we're always going to put 2 in that box. And for the type, we're just going to use the paired t-test, which is kind of the standard t-test. So it's always type 1. So 2 tails and type 1. All right. And what we get from this is a value of point 59833. Okay. And what this is telling us is whether or not there is a significant difference between these two averages, right? So if the value is greater than 0.05, which is 5%, then we say there is no significant difference that these two data sets overlap. But if it's less than 0.05, what we say is that the two data sets don't overlap and there is a significant difference. So for this first one, there's no significant difference at time 0, which is what you would expect for the die circles, because we're just starting out and the holes were the same size, right? So this is larger than 0.05. So let's do that process again, because it's a little complicated. So click on function, choose the t-test. Now we got to pick all these numbers out, right? So we're on to the second set of numbers for 10 minutes. And we want to compare these to one another, right? So we're going to be comparing 10 minutes for malachite green to 10 minutes for potassium permanganate. We're always choosing 2 tails and type 1, enter, right? Okay, and look at this, it's a much smaller number, right? And that's showing us that there is a significant difference between these two circles, right? Between the average width of these two circles. The data sets do not overlap. And so this one, malachite green, is significantly smaller than this one, potassium permanganate. And that's the power of statistics, is it can give us this idea of whether these two are essentially overlapping or non-overlapping data sets, and that can give us some idea of whether something significant is happening when we change the die or not. Okay. All right. So I think what I'll do is I'll repeat that process for these last two boxes, just so you can see how it works a couple more times. Um, so let's go up to function, t-test. I'm going to go over here and do the arrays one more time. So that was array 1. Now I'm going to move on to array 2. Oops. Oh, sometimes when you make a mistake like that, it's best to just delete everything and start over. So that's what I'm going to do. So I messed up array 2. I'm going to go back and try again. There we go. So 20 minutes compared to 20 minutes. Tail is 2 always, and type is 1. Uh-oh. What happened here? Okay, something funny happened. You can see there's nothing in array 2. So I'm just gonna, again, just go back, start all the way over, start back at array number 1. So, you can't break this program, and you can always get the file again. So don't worry if you make mistakes. We can help you through it, and you can always just repeat it again. It doesn't take very long. Okay, so that's looking better. We've got 20 minutes and 20 minutes, 2 tails, and type 1. Right, you can see, oh, it's a really small number again, which suggests that the die widths are significantly different, right? Okay, last one. So I'm in this last box here, function, t-test. I'm going to go over here and select array 1 and array 2. Okay, got it right that time. 2 tails, type 1, and there you go, right? 0.0013. Okay, so all 3 of these time points are less than 0.05, so they're all significant, and we're not going to consider levels of significance. I mean, if it's less than 0.05, it's significant. If it's significantly different, if it's greater than 0.05, it's not significantly different, and it's just that simple, right? Okay.